Welcome to the online orientation for CISN 303. This course follows CompTIA's Linux Plus certification exam and TestOut's Linux Pro certification exam. My name is Lance Parks. I am the instructor for this course. My areas of specialty include IT and cybersecurity. I'm going to go over the syllabus. I'm going to show you the course portal or Canvas, and I will show you how to purchase the ebook. If you have taken a previous course from me before that uses TestOut for the ebook, you are more than welcome to fast forward, and what I recommend is stop at the schedule and then get the information on the ebook for this course. But if you are new to my online courses and have never used TestOut before or taken a course from me before, I do encourage you to watch the whole video. But I know by now several of you have probably had another course from me. As before, I use Twitter, but not for the class. I use it for school info, internship, and job information. You are more than welcome to add me, drop me at your convenience. But usually, unless it's kind of an emergency where you need to interview or do something really quickly, I post all of that on Twitter and not in the course itself. Office hours online are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, late morning, 10 a.m., 10:30 to noon. And you can reach me by email, chat, or message, which are both in Canvas. My email address is here. I do ask that when you do email me, put the course ID, CISN 303, and your name somewhere in the email. Makes it a lot easier to answer you back. This is a 3-unit, fully online course. There are 2 prereqs. If you have not had these courses, please reach out to me and we can talk about challenging them. The CISC 360, which is CompTIA's A+, and then 304, so networking, essentially a networking course. What can I say? We cover the Linux certification. I'm using a brand new ebook that literally just became available last month. So it follows the most current certification exam by CompTIA and TestOut. But we are looking at using Linux as a server. We're exploring the desktop. We're exploring the shell that makes up Linux, understanding how users and files work in Linux, understanding how processes work, so when you're running services, how that works, clients, installation, you name it, we cover it all. Essentially, it's just like a Windows course for a Windows server, but Linux. And most networks today are running Linux. What you'll find is a lot of your network services, maybe like a web server, might be running Linux, not Windows. You might have Windows using it to manage your users, etc. But all those network services can run very effectively and at a lower cost using Linux. Here are the SLOs that you should be competent at once you complete this course, and the student obligations. The thing I like about the ebook, if you are new to the ebook, it does provide you with an on-ground experience in an online format. Before something like this ebook, most online courses, instructors would post their PowerPoint slides from their on-ground courses, and students would be responsible for viewing those and reading those. In an ebook, such as test out, you're getting lecture videos. So you still get to watch a lecture and learn from an actual lecture. And I think that's much better. There are around 123 lecture videos and 108 lab demonstrations that you will need to watch in this course. Even though the numbers are high, the length of those videos are short. Most of them are under 10 minutes apiece. In some cases, only a couple minutes long. But you are graded on whether or not you watched it. So for example, if I assign 10 points to a lecture video and you watch half the video, then you're going to get 5 points. And I can tell what you're doing in your ebook, so I can see that. There are labs, so you watch the lab demonstration, then you try it yourself. There are 98 labs in this course that you're going to do. Usually labs take about 10, 15, maybe a few of them are 20 minutes long. Some of the labs can be tricky, and I do record lab videos of me doing the labs, explaining them. I've posted a few already in Canvas for the trickier ones, but if you ever get stuck on a lab, don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help. With the labs, you do need to complete them 100% successfully in order to get the full points. Like anything, pretty much, you can do it over and over again. You can watch those videos over and over. You can do the quizzes over and over. And if you're not satisfied with your lab, you can repeat it. I take your highest score. The fact sheets, you do need to read them. There's around 126 of them. They're usually 1 to 2 pages in length, sometimes more. You can save them as a thumb drive to like a PDF to your computer or a thumb drive. The quiz answers come a lot from the fact sheets. And there are 98 quizzes as well. You only need 80%. You only need a B to get full points for the quiz. If you get an 80% or higher, if you were comfortable, you can stop, or you can, like everything else, you can keep doing it until you're satisfied. The final exam, which I will allow you to take at home, is the publisher's practice exam for their certification exam. So once I mentioned earlier, they do have a Linux certification exam. You get a voucher when you buy the ebook, and you can take it after the course is over. I will send you a message on how to do that at the end of the course. The practice exam will help you prepare for that. It is lab based, it is open notes, open ebook if you will. Discussion board. In Canvas, you do post questions and answers to what you're learning in the ebook. Typically, I want 1 question and 1 answer per chapter. The way the discussion boards are set up, they cover 2 chapters typically, so 4 posts minimum to get the full points. Basically, I don't accept late work. There's a lot of flexibility built into the schedule. So even if you go on vacation, work gets a little crazy, family life, same thing, you should be able to get caught up if you're not too far behind to begin with. If you do get sick, really sick, get a doctor's note. I will accept a doctor's note, and normally will allow students a few days, maybe up to a week in that case. But other than that, without a doctor's note, you're probably going to not be able to turn in anything late. So keep that in mind. And even though this is my policy for every course, I get lots of emails from students asking to turn things in late, and the answer is always the same. No, not without a doctor's note. That's pretty much it. And why do I do that? Well, it's only to be fair to all the other students in the course. If I allow 1 or 2 students to turn things in late, everyone else scrambles to get it in on time, it's not fair to the other students. That's really the only reason I'm a stickler with my due dates. Academic honesty to save time. I'm not going to read through everything, but it is important to, everything is your own work, that you're actually doing the work, you're submitting the quizzes, taking the labs, all of that. If you go into IT, you do need to be a moral, ethical person because you will have access to users' information and you don't want to get caught doing something you shouldn't be doing. So that also applies to the plagiarism policy. Please read it. Dropping. Typically, students are responsible for dropping the course. However, if a student does not buy the ebook and link it to the course, I will drop them after a few weeks. I usually do give students about 2 to 3 weeks to get the ebook after the course starts. We don't start the first chapter until the second week, and then the first chapter is super short. So the reality is you could do it the third week if you had to, but the second chapter is the biggest chapter in the book. So once we hit that, it starts generating a lot of work for students. So you really need the ebook by the time we start chapter 2, which is our third week. In fact, I give you 2 weeks to get through the second chapter. It's so big. Anyway, just students can get dropped if they don't get the ebook. DSPS, if you think you need more time for the final exam, for example, reach out to DSPS and then they'll provide documentation that will be sent to me that might allow that. Otherwise, the way the ebook is set up, it should work for most students, even without any documentation from DSPS. There's a lot of, just for example, there is closed captioning for all the videos. So if you have a hard time hearing it, you can definitely read it. Even there's text-to-speech capability built into the ebook. It's really nice. We do have an IA, and I will show you how to reach out to him. He is in the computer lab on campus. If I'm not available, you might reach out to him if you have a question, for example. These courses do require a lot of self-motivation. The reason is, had this been an on-ground course, you would have been coming to the college at least 4 hours a week to work on usually one chapter. We would try to cover a topic and then do the labs related to that particular topic. Now you're doing it at home. So that, in addition to reading, in addition to taking your quizzes, which is your homework, if you will, you still need to spend that time watching those lecture videos, those lab demonstrations. Now you're doing that at home. I suggest everyone sets aside for about 4 hours a week for this course. Put it in your schedule where when it comes up, you put down your phone and you work on this material. Not all weeks will be the same. When we get to the schedule, you'll see what I mean, but I do try to balance them out a little bit. Whereas for, as I mentioned earlier, longer chapters, you will have more time to complete them. But the fact is, some chapters are really short and some are really long. It's just depending on the topic for that particular chapter. I do have obligations that I put into my syllabi. I think that's important. I remember being a student myself and liking things and disliking things about my instructors. So I think some of this relates to that. And, one of them I remember with, when I, of course, was getting my bachelor's, there really wasn't online courses. You had to go to college for everything. And I was working full time, going to school at night. And I would show up tired from work and the teacher would just be there telling jokes, talking about fishing and all this. And it's like, I'm here to learn whatever the topic is. I want to go home and eat some dinner. And I never forgot that. So had this been an on-ground class, I'd be very sensitive to your time, making sure that you're getting through the material, and then once you're done, letting you free to go. Nice thing about an online class is you can schedule it around everything else. You just need to make sure that you do find the time for the course. Here is our evaluation. 1 orientation quiz, which I will take before we're done. 9 discussion boards. 15 modules or chapters. So that's a big part of your grade right there. You get a C just by doing all the work in the ebook. Now, it's a lot of work, but it's 2/3 of your grade. And then the final exam. Here is our schedule. The first week, all I need you to do is watch this video, read the syllabus, and post an introduction about yourself in Canvas and take the orientation quiz. Due by January 23rd at noon. I failed to mention this earlier. My due dates are Monday at noon. The reason it's noon and not midnight is before, when I had a later due date, I would get students emailing me at 10, 11 at night. They're trying to work on stuff before it's due. Well, unfortunately, how do I say it? I'm just old. I like going to bed at 9 o'clock, and I couldn't help them. So 12 o'clock, noon, lunchtime, I can answer those emails in the morning and get back to students before the due date. So I am a stickler. Don't come at me with an email saying, oh, I forgot. I will just let you know. Sorry, I can't help you. But it's Monday at noon. So you can work on stuff all weekend. I'll get your email in the morning and answer it, and then hopefully you can get stuff submitted on time. But notice, chapter 0, I'll show it to you. It's an optional. It's more about the ebook and how it functions. So if you're new to test out, definitely look at that short chapter, but it is not graded. Chapter 1 is, and it is also short. And then 2, again, you get 2 weeks because it is so long. 3 and 4. The reason for this, 3 is really short. 4 is probably average, so I do give you kind of a week and a half, if you will. And then 5 is also short. But notice a lot of weeks you're juggling multiple chapters. I'm trying to break it down in such a way that it's about 4 hours a week, with a few exceptions. The chapter 1 will take you less than an hour, for example. But if you want to start chapter 2, you can. One second. But the thing I'm trying to show you is, notice you work on these chapters 1 to 5, and you get over a month to complete them, about a month and a half. So they're not due till March 6th. That's why I consider it flexible. You lose a week for whatever reason, you should be able to get caught up, unless you're waiting till the last minute to do 3 chapters, 2 or 3 chapters. You should be good. So 1 to 5, and their discussion boards are due Monday, March 6th at noon. Spring break is the middle of March. And then you do 6 to 10. I'm sorry, 5 to 10, 5 to 8. 4 more. April 3rd, 9 to 12, May 1st. So about a month away at this point. Because chapter 2 is so big, I give you more time. It does spread out the due date initially. But these, you get about a month to get those 4 chapters done. And I think I said 5 earlier, and I apologize, it's 4. And then the last 3, 13 to 15, are due the last day of class, which is Monday, May 15th, plus your final exam, etc. All right, so that is your schedule. Let's take a quick look at Canvas, and then we'll come back and look at the ebook. Your Things that are due are over here. There's always going to be a link on the home page to whatever we're working on for that particular week. Contact information for myself, the IA. I put a pro tip. It changes about once a month. Usually it's just an important tip to kind of remind you of something. In this case, read those messages that I send out each week. It's really important, especially at first, so you have a general understanding of what's expected and what's due. I call that the due, D-O-D-U-E. What to do, and then what is coming up, D-U-E. Course summary just gives you kind of a block of when things are due. Your one extra credit opportunity is in honor of Black History Month. You can pick anyone who is African American who has contributed to computer science, information technology, and there's so many people out there. Share some information about them in your own words, include a link to where you got that info, and then also comment on one other student for 10 more extra credit points. That's due at the end of February. And then our first big due date, March 6th. Next one, they're all here. That's your homepage. Announcements will start showing up here as I send them out. Depending on how you have configured your Canvas account, you might be getting the messages in your inbox, which is Canvas message, or you might get it to your email. Either way, you should read it, or you can read it under the announcement, whatever your preference is. Usually on Monday, I'll send out an email or message for that week. And then sometimes later in the week, I'll send another one if it's important. Chat. This is something I started using this year. This is a great place to post general questions that anyone can see. If you're getting stuck on a lab, if you have a question about the syllabus, if you have a question about maybe some of the content, you can post it here. It's just like your messenger on your phone. It can be synchronous or asynchronous. If I'm in my office hour, I do check these, and I've had synchronous conversations with students accordingly. Otherwise, if you post a question, I will answer it as soon as I can, usually within one day. Keep in mind, I don't check my messages on Friday, so anything sent Friday through Sunday will get a response on Monday. But this is a nice way to post questions and get answers. Discussion boards, those questions about the content. This one's due January 23rd by noon. Please introduce yourself to the class. Share why you're taking the class. Did you do anything over the break? Do you want to share anything about work? Even though you only post once this week for the requirement, please read all the posts, read all the introductions, get to know the class. It's important. You can reply, post your response here or here. Thumbs ups are great, but not required. I use the thumbs up as an indication that I've read something, so if I've given you a thumbs up, it's usually letting you know, hey, I read your post. And then sometimes I'll respond. Other times I'll let other students respond. If you really need a response and I didn't respond, feel free to reach out to me through the chat with that question. But typically, it's going to be chapter based. So chapters 1 and 2, you need one question and one answer to a question for each chapter. Check your gradebook often. Not only do I post your grades and points, but I do give you a lot of feedback in your gradebook. and it is possible for me to make a mistake. So you want to verify everything is correct. And I'm never upset if you're questioning something in your gradebook, even if I didn't make a mistake. I'd rather you be careful and satisfied with knowing that your score is correct. That's important to me. Most of the time will be spent in the modules. That's where you're going to find your chapter information. The first week is the orientation. Please, you're already doing it, watch the video, read the syllabus. I'm not going to download the lesson plan. They're hundreds of pages long. But if you want detailed information about the ebook, you can look at it in the lesson plan document. I don't recommend you print it. It's too long. But if you want to know more about what you're going to be learning in an upcoming chapter, you can find it here. But this does not replace the ebook. It is just little bits of detailed information about it. So for example, if there's a video you have to watch, it'll tell you how long that video is. Do download this, and I recommend you use it. So once again, the first chapter 0 is just an introduction really to test out the lab simulator. So it's optional, takes about half an hour. If you're new to the ebook, definitely do it. Chapter 1 is an introduction to Linux, but notice, not even an hour long, super short. So not all chapters are the same, but look at 2. Yikes. 13 sections, almost 11 hours to complete chapter 2. So that's why I give you at least 2 weeks to get it done. Feel free, if you get chapter 1 done, if you want to start chapter 2 the same week, you can. But it's a big chapter because it's an important topic. It's about using Linux. And for some of you, that might be entirely new. So it's nice you're getting this information up front. So that's a big one. Then you're dropping down to some more short. Chapter 3's pretty short, hour and a half approximately. Chapter 4, 4 hours. Chapter 5 is short. 3's more normal. 7, and then 8 is the other big one. And I'm sorry, I guess 8 is actually bigger than 2. So 8 is 14 hours to complete. And I do give you a couple weeks to work on 8. All right. Anyway, why is this document handy besides the numbers? It's one way you can keep track of where you are and what you're doing. So as you complete a section, such as 2.1, you can just make a note, maybe the date, maybe a check mark, and then you can move on. This document is in PDF format. If you're able to edit it, you can, or if you can just print it, you can just mark it up with a pencil or a pen. All right. So that one's meant to help you. If you are interested in the certification exams, this document maps the ebook to those certification exams, so you are able to understand exactly how the ebook does prepare you for those 2 certification exams. If you are new to Test Out, please look at the startup guide and the Test Out instruction for students. If you're not, you can ignore them. You can also post your introduction from this link. Orientation quiz we'll get to in a minute. If you are new to the ebook, I have a video goes into more detail about the ebook. I don't really do that in the orientation to save time, but again, if you're new to the ebook, please watch this video. If you're not, you can ignore it. I do recommend you download the PowerPoint slides and use them for your notes. So as you're watching those demonstrations, and more importantly, the lab videos, you can use these slides for notes. And you are going to see some of these topics, some of these pictures in those lectures and slides. So how can you use them for notes? And there's only 11 slides for this particular chapter. You can view them as note pages and then type up your notes down here and then save them to your computer. Or if you prefer to write your notes on paper, you can print them. I like the 3-slide layout because it has the lines, and this is 4 pages. Not too bad for this particular PowerPoint slides. Remember, quizzes, the final, everything's open notes. So definitely take notes. Take advantage of that. So I have put all the PowerPoint slides that I would use in an on-ground class in Canvas. These do not replace your lecture, though. You still have to watch the lecture videos. I use these for your note-taking purposes. The links that are for the chapters are for me to use to upload your score for your work in the ebook. You don't have to do anything here, just do your work in the ebook. Then it's based on a rubric, so you'll get the full marks, some of them less or none, depending on how much work you do, etc. And this particular chapter aligns with the student learning outcome for inspect common server processors, common types of memory, and depending on how good you did in the ebook, you will have met that expectation and get an extra credit point because the chapters are worth 50 points. I know it's really not fair because chapter 1 is a lot less work than chapter 2. It just works out that way. But you can get an extra point. In some cases, multiple extra points if you do a really good job in your ebook. If you do the bare minimum, you still might get full marks, but you're probably not going to exceed, not meet the expectation for the SLO, and then lose that extra point in some cases. But those are extra credit points. So you don't, even if you don't get it, you don't lose a point. I hope that makes sense. But that's a typical chapter right there. You're going to post your question and answer for that chapter. But most of your time is spent in the ebook. Let's take a look at the ebook. Here's a link to the ebook. You want to copy this promo code. I know some of you have done this 1,000 times. But purchase, enter price code. And Linux Pro. Right here, $129 is the price. It's an 18-month lease. When I started using Test Out, it was for a lifetime. I'm really sad they went to 18 months, but they did. Eventually they do expire anyway because information keeps getting updated. It's IT after all. But you add it to your cart, and if you're done, you can check out. Institution, type in the name of the college. Make sure you got it spelled correctly. You need to accept the licensing agreement. Enter all your personal information. Make sure your email is correct, and they do have you re-enter it, because after you pay for the ebook, they will send you the activation code to your email, and it'll happen within a day. And then, of course, you got to select how you're going to pay, continue, and then you're done once you pay for the ebook. Once you have paid for the ebook, you will then log in If you are new to Test Out, you have to create an account. Here's where you would type in your activation code, birth month, birth year, and then after that you do enter in some personal information, like what do you want your login code to be, or login name to be, excuse me. I recommend you use your student ID, your W number, the same password. Keep it easy for yourself. And then once you are in, you can log in and it should link because you put in your activation code there. And my homepage looks different, but your ebook looks the same. Here is your ebook. Once again, there's a video in Canvas that goes into more detail, but Chapter 0 is more just about the lab simulator, just a real brief introduction to the ebook, and then Chapter 1 through 15. And then your final exam is right here. So the little play button, that's your lecture videos, fact sheets, practice quiz. Notice not everything has a lab. 2 is much bigger. With the arrow, that's your demonstration. And then here's a lab with the mouse. So remember to set aside enough time. If you recall, I think Chapter 2 wasn't it like 10 hours or something to complete Chapter 2? You definitely are going to need a couple weeks to complete that one. But it's an important topic. And you will work through this material and hopefully enjoy it at the same time. But I'm not going to go into more detail. You can watch the other video if you need that. One last recommendation. Things do get saved, but I do recommend you log out when you're done just to make sure everything gets saved. Very few instances students might lose something, because typically when you go to a new page, everything before is saved. Let's take the orientation quiz. Oh, people, before I do that, here is your IA if you need to reach out. In Canvas, they call them a teacher's assistant instead of an instructional assistant. But anyway, Norbert Moreau is in charge of the computer lab in the BS complex, and he can help you as well as me if you have a question. He has been helping students for years and years. A really nice guy. But library, Google Drive, you can save documents. Student services. Orientation quiz. Password. So again, when you buy the ebook, I forgot to mention, be sure to get version 6. That's the new one that just came out. I want to say December 2022. Don't get version 5. I think the one I showed you, I have linked to version 6. So in most cases, you will get version 6, even if you don't look or try. And even if you do make a mistake, I know you can contact Test Out and they'll fix it for you, because I'll catch it early on if you're in the wrong version. Test Out, pretty much your modern popular web browsers. It supports all of them. Only thing I want to mention, with a tablet like an iPad, you can watch videos on your phone. You can do some texting and stuff, look at the fact sheets, but you can't take the labs or exams on your phone or tablet. But if you're at the gym and you're walking on a treadmill and you want to listen to a video, watch a video, you can do that. The other thing, I failed to post a picture, but I'll try to add it. If you are thinking of phone and tablet, there's an app called Canvas Student. I really like it. I suggest you download it to your tablet and your phone. You can log in with your student ID and get access to Canvas. It's a great place to use the discussion board, is actually through that app called Canvas Student. Pretty much everything I showed you is outlined here. How to purchase the ebook, how to create your account if I'd gone further, and then here is your password. January, uppercase J with an exclamation mark. So because the discussion boards cover typically 2 chapters, the number of minimum times you should post is 4. Purchasing the ebook is optional is false. It is required. You will get dropped if you don't. How many labs? I happen to remember. Wow, that would be a lot. 98. There is no advisory. You do have a couple prereqs. If you don't have the prereq, just reach out to me and we can talk about challenging it. In some cases, you might have learned the material somewhere else. And I don't check email over the weekend. That's false. I have a lot of kids, so most of my time on weekend is going to games and such. Also doing laundry, cleaning house, stuff that you probably do as well. So if you do send me a message Friday through Sunday, you'll get a response Monday morning. Submit quiz, you should get all the points. Thank you for listening to this online orientation. I hope you enjoy the course. Don't forget that I'm here to help. Please feel free to reach out to me for any assistance.